Good evening and welcome back to Ask 9. I'm Becky Phelps.
And I'm Jim Burton. So glad we're back together again.
I know.
It's been hit and miss since the holiday season.
We got to get back in our rhythm.
Whatever that might be, because the program has been on the air for so long. But thank you so much for joining us for Ask 9, where we try to answer questions either about TV9, some of behind the scenes, or we also get a lot of questions about the news that we do cover.
Yes, and we had some surprising news come out this week about the Iowa Board of Regents, which, for anyone who doesn't know, that's the agency that looks over the three public universities: University of Iowa, Iowa State, and UNI.
Yeah, the governing body is made up of 9 members.
9 members.
And they serve at, are they elected?
They are appointed.
Yeah, they're at the discretion of the governor,
yes.
right?
So we got a question in after learning that 2 people in leadership positions on the Iowa Board of Regents will be stepping down. This question came in: how will the spots be filled? Couple of clarifying points before we get into the nitty-gritty of how this happens. So, the 2 folks who announced they were going to step down from positions from the Iowa Board of Regents. First, we have the president, Sherry Bates, who is leaving the board entirely, leaving both her position and her entire spot on the board several years before her term is up.
She says it's for family reasons at this point, and that's pretty much the entire reason that she gave. We don't have much more on it than that.
No, so they just gave statements. They did not, really expand on why this was happening. President Pro Tem, Greta Rouse, is resigning from her leadership position, but she is staying on the board.
Yeah, because she was President Pro Tem, which is usually second in position. For her to step down, that means there's a big vacuum of the 2 leaders of the Iowa Board of Regents right now.
Yes, and to add on to that, another member on the Board of Regents stepped down back in October. So that's David Barker. He left to serve as the U.S. Assistant Secretary for Post-Secondary Education under the Trump administration.
As we go further back, as far as background is concerned, you may know that the Iowa legislature has had a keen interest on education and particularly what is going on at those 3 public universities, particularly diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, DEI pretty much being I was going to say outlawed, but I don't know if banned is even a strong enough word here, is dismantled, we'll put it that way. And also the way some of the classes are taught at the university with the belief that more voices are needed, conservative voices are being stifled, and that there's too much of a liberal groupthink going on at the 3 Iowa universities. So we're seeing this groundswell with the Republican legislature. Republicans have a supermajority in both the House, the Senate. Also the governor, as you well know, is a Republican. So it has been really an effort, particularly over the last 2 years, to take a look at higher education in Iowa to make sure that there's more conservative voices being heard.
Yes, so this is a chance for Governor Reynolds to fill 2 spots on the Board of Regents before she steps down as governor, since she's not running for re-election. So it is important. And to answer that, how are we going to fill those spots? It is somewhat at the discretion of the governor. The governor appoints a new member, but that member does have to be approved by 2/3 of the state Senate.
Okay.
So there is a bit of a second part of that.
Well, 2/3 is where that supermajority does come in handy for the Republicans and for the governor in particular.
Absolutely. So a part 2 to the question we got in is, are there any requirements for the people on the board? A little. Iowa Code only outlines a few quote-unquote requirements for those on the board. One of them has to be a student or graduate student who is full-time enrolled at one of the 3 universities. So they have to be attending Iowa, Iowa State, or UNI. Interesting, President Pro Tem Greta Rouse was once the student representative.
Yeah, she has been a veteran of the Board of Regents and really knows how it's operated for all those years.
Yeah. The only other kind of note about qualification is that no more than 5 members on the 9-member Board of Regents can be of the same political party. So they can only have at one time 5 Republicans, 5 Democrats, 5 independents at most. There has to be a little bit of
diversity as far as the partisanship.
Political
but once
party.
again, I mean, if it's 9 members and you have 5, you do have a majority, of course. So, I mean, that does play a factor.
Before these resignations, the board had 5 Republicans, 1 Democrat, and 3 who identify as independents. So that was the makeup. It wouldn't be shocking to see Governor Reynolds appoint 2 Republicans to this board.
Well, and let's talk a little bit more about that. And we do have a statement also from, his name is State Representative Taylor Collins. He is a Republican from Minneapolis, but he's also the chair of the House Committee on Higher Education. Now, the House Committee on Higher Education was just recently created, and he is the head of this. He has been very much in favor of the dismantling of the DEI programs throughout the colleges, and is also, and we'll talk a little bit about this as well, he was very critical about the search for the Iowa State University's president. But what he said after hearing of the changes from the president and President pro tem of the Regents is that for years now, lawmakers have called for a change in direction for not only our universities, but also the Board of Regents. I look forward to working with the next board president to continue to reform Iowa's higher education system. So Republicans believe that this could be a game changer and perhaps a sea change, in fact, for higher education in the state of Iowa.
That's interesting to see if this will have a ripple effect then.
It will, and it'll be interesting to see who is selected. And once again, whoever the governor selects, as you said, 2/3 of the legislature, or is it just the Senate? 2/3
The Senate.
of the Senate, yeah. 2/3 of the Senate has to approve, and right now they do have a supermajority. Now, as I said a little earlier, is that Representative Collins was really critical about the selection of the president of Iowa State University. North Dakota State University President David Cook was just announced. And what made Representative Taylor upset is that he doesn't like the way the selection process ended. I shouldn't say ended. He didn't like the way the process went, but he doesn't have a problem with who was selected. Let me put it that way.
Oh, interesting.
Collins said he believed the right candidate was ultimately selected, but he said there's glaring issues in the presidential selection process, and said that has once again emerged. Now, this is according to the Ames newspaper.
Okay.
He said, and I quote now from the Ames newspaper, this is a quote of Mr. Collins, Representative Taylor Collins. Not only did 2 of the 4 finalists drop out before coming to campus, but the other finalist was a self-proclaimed climate advocate and a proponent of lab-grown meat. As a result, this coming session of the Higher Education Committee will seek to make additional reforms to the university president's selection process. So he is critical of who were the finalists. He's happy with the selection that was made, but once again, this committee that he's in charge of is going to be taking a closer look, not only with how the Board of Regents has changed, but also how the selection process of future leaders of the 3 state universities are selected.
If I'm hearing that right, it sounds like he's interested in making changes to who the finalists can be, maybe requirements for the position?
It's interesting. We're going to have to wait till this committee is created, and how you would write that legislation that would eliminate certain candidates, what the criteria might be for being eligible to be a president of, as you said, Northern Iowa, Iowa State or Iowa, University of Iowa. But I just want to point that out, that when we're talking about the change in the Board of Regents, and it was a great question to ask about the Board of Regents, I think over the next year, 2 or 3 years, we're going to see, a continuing closer look at higher education, particularly among the 3 public universities here in Iowa. So that's why I brought that up.
It is very, very interesting.
It is, yeah. And
it's a
to be
big
honest,
conversation.
This is a committee that you're going to have to watch. I mean, this was created, the committee, I believe, it might have first met this year. For some reason, I want to go back a year earlier than that. And it was really tasked with particularly dismantling DEI, and that it wasn't working fast enough. And in some ways, it was being replaced with DEI light, so to speak. You get rid of the words diversity, equity, and inclusion, but still you still have the heart of it going on. And once again, He was also, Representative Taylor Collins, very upset with some of the reports that we heard earlier this summer in regards to some of the employees at those universities saying this is how you skirt around it. He really had one of the loudest voices in the legislature regarding how angry he was when that news broke, that those things had occurred. So he's got a lot of power in this committee. So it'll be interesting to see. I even think coming this session, starting in January, watch what is introduced and what goes before that committee.
It'll be interesting to see also who steps up in the Board of Regents for leadership, because they are handling some big things, namely I think the UI Center of Intellectual Freedom. Seeing who takes lead on big projects like that will be very interesting. We will get an answer tomorrow. They're going to elect a new president and a president pro tem. That is on their agenda for their meeting tomorrow, and that term will start immediately, and then it will run through April 30th of 2026. So it's a short term, but we will know who immediately in the short term will step up.
Yeah, and that meeting is in Metro Des Moines. It's in, I want to say Urbandale.
I will believe you. I don't have that.
Yeah, anyhow, it's Metro Detroit. I know that. I think it's Urbandale, but I'm not positive.
All right.
But that meeting's tomorrow.
That meeting is tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on Ask 9. As always, if you've got any questions, you can message us on Facebook or send us an email. We also have a tab on our website where you can send in a form there. Have a great evening.